This is the Brandon Smith Show. I'm your host, Brandon Smith, and the entire purpose of this show is one singular thing, and that's to help you live a life that much more free from dysfunction. So today, we're going to talk about what happens when that dysfunction creeps up to a level of unsustainable, and you say, can't take this anymore. I'm out. We're talking about quitting. When to quit, how to quit, what not to do when you quit, all that stuff.
So you don't just walk out the door?
You don't do that. And everyone hear that wonderful voice? It's my amazing producer, co-host.
One again?
What, you want more compliments? You gotta bring your A game. Whitney Mendoza is on the show with me today as we do leadership therapy and talk about how you can quit the right way. So much to talk about. Have you ever quit a job, Whitney?
Oh, man. Yeah.
You have quit a job.
Yeah.
Sounds like this is more than one. Any of those, in retrospect, would you say, yeah, I would have done that differently?
I don't think so. I felt like, so maybe twice, and they were both under different circumstances. Okay. One, it was like it was the expected quit because I had graduated college, so it was time to get.
Oh, the expected quit.
Yeah.
This is a new. I've never heard this term before. The expected quit.
Do you really want to hear the story?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was pulling up some more things because we're going to chat about.
Make sure. I didn't know if you wanted Whitney's story.
I asked you for your story.
Okay. Well, I'm going to.
When I ask someone to tell me a story, you know what I'm asking for? Their story.
That's so rare that someone asked me to speak. Okay. I had an awesome boss. She was legit one of the best bosses ever. And I stayed with her. I started working with her.
While you're talking, just watch your hand. Don't knock over Willy Wonka, please.
That's the one I want to knock over. Okay. I started working with her high school. I was in high school. Stayed with her all through college. It was at a shoe store. An old lady shoe store. I loved it. And I loved my boss. And a big reason of why I loved the job is I love my boss. She was fun and she was one of those no nonsense bosses. Loved her. But I graduated college. And so she knew I was going to go, to the big city and get a big girl job. So she tried to get me to stay on the weekends, but man, I didn't. I was kind of done working on weekends. I was ready to have my weekends back.
Side note, I think everyone should do some kind of a retail job or something like that at some point. Because you learn a lot. You learn to appreciate, first of all, you get the whole customer service experience.
You really do.
But you also learn to appreciate working odd hours and absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a case where you had a great boss. You loved your boss.
Right.
You actually liked the job, but you were ready for the next thing in your career.
Yeah.
And so it was the expected quit. I love that term, the expected quit. Okay.
So, it was good. Yeah, it was good.
So that sounded like it went on kind of good terms. Have you ever had one that didn't end quite so well? You did a little breakup action and, you said, it's not me, it's you.
Yeah. I don't know if I don't think I said it like that. And this one, you know what? I'm going to tell you this, and this is the quit that we're probably going to focus on in our conversation today, because I would tell you it wasn't necessarily an easy quit. I really enjoyed what I was doing. But sometimes you have to realize your value and your worth. And it's kind of like that friend that you meet in school and you're like, I'm going here and you're kind of bringing me down here. And so we can't really be friends anymore.
So it's not me, it's you.
Yeah.
Or you could say, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah. That's probably what I did.
But either way, you're breaking up.
Yeah. So it was hard. It was still hard, but I felt like it needed to be done.
And you did it.
Yeah. Here I am.
And here you are. Big city, not selling shoes, old lady shoe store.
That's true.
Oh, all grown up, folks. All grown up. Okay, so I've got a list here. Let's see if you can guess. Okay?
Oh, here we go.
We're going to start with what not to do.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about what to do. But I got a list here of the top 5 worst ways to quit a job.
Okay.
So these aren't like specific, like, you know, you set off the fire alarm or something like that. It's not quite that specific, but it's more general, like things you shouldn't, you know, when you're going to quit a job, top 5 ways. And they're not to do not do. They're not in any particular order. So what do you think? You got any guesses?
Well, I had just blow up and walk out, but is that considered?
Yeah, that's one of them.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Then what's considered, like, were you talking literally pulling the fire drill?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going that
like
literal, but yeah.
Clearing everybody out.
Making a scene is number 2.
Okay.
So you're going to make a big scene. Like, you know, I can't believe you're doing this. And you start throwing stuff around, making a lot of noise, you know, knock things over.
Telling everyone how you really feel, how you have felt all those years, and you've just bottled it inside, and you're like, time to tell.
Yeah. So why would that be bad?
You know, the best way to prepare for the next job is how you leave your current job. And if you blow up at everyone and you say a bunch of things, everyone's probably going to think you've got some anger issues. You're not going to get a good referral. I mean, you're burning all your bridges if you do that.
I think that's the simplest thing. You're burning all your bridges. Mm-hmm. Most people, when they've worked in an industry for a while, they realize actually it's kind of a small world. Like
right.
people bounce around and from the same companies and swap around, and
True,
so reputations will precede you.
Mm-hmm.
And often I find that when employers are hiring someone, they recognize it's probably not going to be a lifetime relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So
mm-hmm.
they actually pay attention to how you left the last job because it speaks a lot to your character.
Mm-hmm.
And if you end up leaving them at some point, they want to know how are you going to treat that breakup.
Right.
So yeah, not making a scene is important.
Okay.
How about another one?
I'm going to take another guess.
Okay.
Just as you wouldn't break up, you shouldn't break up with someone via a text message.
You know, that's a really good one.
Okay.
And I would say it's not really on this in a direct way.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I would say not having the face-to-face.
Yeah.
So there's one that's close to this.
Okay.
And that's just don't bother coming in. So it's the kind of idea where you're just like, I'm just not going to, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, I think the text messages are a real close cousin to that.
Yeah.
Because rather than actually have the adult conversation, you're just, you know, thumbing it.
Yeah.
And you say, I quit, or I'm not coming in anymore. But that's not really having the conversation.
Right.
So why is that bad?
Again, to me, it comes back to just walking, you know, blowing up and quitting. You're leaving your employer hanging, right?
Yep.
Like it takes time. There's a ramp up period. They've got to find someone. They've got to train someone. And truthfully, 2 weeks probably isn't enough time for that, but it's some sort of leeway. I want to say I gave a month notice.
That's nice.
Yes, because I knew that it would take time, and I offered to help train whoever, and I did that. I trained the next person who came in, and
this is good. Textbook over here. Textbook, really nice.
Oh, thanks.
Really good.
Yeah.
And now the standard is still the typical 2 weeks.
Right.
That's the standard kind of 2 weeks notice.
Yeah.
So now there are cases, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. There are cases where some employers, once you give notice, they terminate you effective immediately. Right. Particularly if they think you're going to go to competition, or they could just be grumpy and not nice people.
Right.
So you have to be prepared for that.
Right.
But in most rational situations, the more notice you can give, the better. So just not showing up, that's not good. And it's a close cousin to another one, which is not giving any notice at all.
Right.
You know, well, I'm going to have the conversation with you, but I'm quitting effectively tomorrow. You know, effective tomorrow, which is not good. Let's see. There's a few others I got on here. Oh, 2 more. Okay. I don't know if you'd guess these. So this number 4 on the list is trying to take others down with you.
Okay.
So you're like, I'm quitting, but before I leave, let me tell you all the other stuff that these other people have been doing.
Oh, not like Michael Scott Paper Company?
Not real. No.
Like recruiting? Like, hey, come with me.
No.
Okay.
No, but that could actually be something you could do. That's right. You could take people with you. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. It depends.
Okay.
It depends. I know situations where that has been kind of borderline unethical, not cool, and I know situations where it's perfectly appropriate. It was not a good environment, and you're taking people that you really enjoyed working with, who are A players, and you're taking them to a better place. You know, it's kind of depends on the situation. But this is kind of in the vein of I'm gonna still light the place on fire before I leave. but now I'm going to actually, like badmouth a bunch of people.
Wow.
And then the last one is very related to this. And I see this is a little more insidious. I think you quit, but you never really leave the place. Like you keep going to lunch with those old coworkers and you gossip about the place and you're kind of like, you just can't let it go. Maybe you had a bad experience, but you're still staying really connected. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, breaking up with somebody and you just can't let them go.
Yeah.
So you just keep like it's like stalker behavior kind of stuff. Like not good.
Yeah.
So when you close a chapter, you want to close it well. You want to close it cleanly. You want to be positive about it and you want to move on. And that's important because ultimately, if you're going to be interviewing for another job, in those interviews, it's simple. We all know this, but I hear people make this mistake all the time. You never talk about the bad stuff at a prior job.
Right.
Ever. Bad culture, bad boss, bad coworkers, bad decision-making by leadership. You never do any of that. You always say, it was a wonderful experience. I got a lot out of it, and it really prepared me for my next step, which is probably all a true statement.
Right.
Maybe it was not a pleasant experience, but you probably learned a lot and probably did prepare you for the next step.
Yeah.
So those are all things you don't want to do.
Right.
Anything I missed on the list?
Sounded pretty solid to me. I mean, as we were going through these, I was kind of thinking too, a lot of what I shared, I would say I left both of my jobs on good terms. Like even now, the retail store that I worked with, every now and then when we're in the area, we'll stop in and I'll say hi to my old boss. Like it's no problem. So both jobs I left on good terms.
Even now, you still stop by?
Every now and then. Now this is like we're talking North Georgia, so but I don't go up there a lot. But
she's still there.
She actually got promoted and took on a bigger store.
Wow.
I'm telling you, she was a rock star boss. But I feel like these are easier to follow if you are living on good terms. Like me, I was willing to give a month's notice because I wasn't leaving for anything bad like sexual harassment or treated terribly or something like that, right? I was leaving for a better opportunity.
Yep.
So what would you say to that? Because I feel like there's a big difference between I'm leaving on good terms versus I'm leaving because I'm almost being forced to leave.
You're making a good point. I'm putting all this onto the guys that, for whatever reason, this is not meeting kind of your workplace happiness formula criteria. So it's the wrong job for you, wrong culture, wrong boss. I'm not really addressing extreme unethical or illegal behavior, where you're being harassed or threatened or being coerced into doing something that breaks your moral standards. I'm not really talking about that. No, that would probably be a case where you might want to quit more immediately. But that's a case where if you're in one of those situations, that's not what we're going to talk about so much today, because then that's going to be more about crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's, making sure HR knows you filed a complaint, you've got it in writing, you've probably lawyered up. I mean, there's some things that you would need to do to still get ready to leave, but you wouldn't necessarily have to give notice if it's extreme cases of improper behavior.
Yeah. This
is mostly a case of, it's just not a good fit, or maybe it's, kind of an unpleasant, unhealthy environment, but not to the point where we're talking illegal, unethical kind of stuff. Okay, so we're at break. When we come back from break, we're going to actually now talk about what do you do. So you're getting ready to leave. You think you're going to quit. You think 2018 is the year that you're out of there. What do you need to do? Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, this is Brandon with your coaching minute for the week. So one of the very simple tips that I give my clients that I find to be extremely helpful and beneficial with their direct reports, so for those manager clients of mine, is to do this. So at some point in the year, often about halfway between the time you give the performance review and the next performance review, so that 6-month mark, during your one-on-ones with your direct reports, at the end of the one-on-ones, I want you to ask your direct reports the start, stop, continue question. So in other words, you ask them this: what can I start doing to support you better? What could I stop doing that's getting in your way? And what can I continue doing that will help support you more? And what they come back to me and tell me is they say, oh my gosh, it was so amazing to hear not only the feedback, but how different each of my direct reports are and what they need from me. So think about a time this year when you can do that. Now, one more important thing around this tip, make sure you let your direct reports know that you're going to do that so they can think and prepare prior to that meeting. I promise you'll not only feel better, but you'll thank me for doing that. So that is your coaching minute for the week. I look forward to hearing how it goes. Welcome back. This is the Brandon Smith Show, and today we are talking about quitting your job. So Whitney, before this, we talked about all the things you shouldn't do, and it generally fell into the big category of, again, assuming it's not ethical violations or you're being asked to do something illegal. It's all about basically fit. You don't like the place, you don't like your boss, time to move on.
Yeah.
So what are all the things you shouldn't do? And they'll generally fall in this category of make sure, you're kind of leaving your campsite better than you found it, kind of Boy Scout, Girl Scout motto in that. So here's some things that you should do. Okay. So I'm gonna start with the first one because this was kind of happened with a client of mine very recently.
Okay.
So I have a client of mine and she had another opportunity in front of her. And she was like, you know what, this current role that I'm in right now, it's not a good, perfect fit for a number of reasons. And I've got this other opportunity. I think it's going to be great. I'm just going to take it. And I said to her, you shouldn't do that until you at least have a conversation with your boss about that other opportunity. Mm-hmm. Because you never know what might happen. She didn't want to do it. She's like, no. I don't want to do that. I've already made up my mind. I'm not going to talk to my boss about it. I said, you really want to do that because you never know. There may be some things, her boss is a C-level executive. Okay. So I said, there may be some things that your boss sees and knows about and could create for you that you don't see. I don't want to do it. Finally, she did it. Okay. Had lunch with her boss. I got an email back and she said, that was the best piece of advice I've gotten because it turns out there was a lot of stuff I didn't see. It turns out there's going to be some leadership changes around me, which is going to ease a lot of my pain. And we talked a lot about career planning and pathing for me.
Nice. And
all of a sudden, this job went from being not as good as my other opportunity to way better than my other opportunity over lunch. So the first thing you should be doing if you're thinking about leaving is make sure you've at least had the conversation with your boss about what's working for you and what's not working for you and what you might need. Okay. Now, in that conversation, it's really important you don't go into it negative, like all these things are wrong. You always start off by saying, I love the place. I love the company. I love working for you. There's a few things that if we could work through, it would make me more effective and make me even more satisfied in this role. So you come in with a spirit of kind of positivity, and then you kind of ask for some things. Now, your boss might not do anything or might not be able to do anything. Maybe you're asking for a raise or promotion, and there just isn't that's not available. But at least you gave them enough respect to share with them kind of what your need is, and you gave them an opportunity to try and meet that.
Nice.
So you could have gone to your boss at the shoe store and said, what I want is, I don't know, what would you have wanted? Was there anything?
Well, she would have had to set up a studio in the shoe store. It wasn't really the same industry.
Yeah.
The second job, there's probably a lot I could have said, but we'll just leave that right there. Huh. Number 2.
Okay. So so if you've done that, the second thing that is also just good hygiene is make sure you've let others know inside the organization that you're also looking for something more. Because maybe your boss is the problem. For a lot of people, that their boss is the problem. Yeah. So they really don't like my first recommendation because they don't like the idea of sitting down with their boss, who they maybe don't like working with, and saying, here's what I need to work better here or work with you better or whatever. They don't even want to have that conversation. You still should try and do it just to say you've checked it off. Because if you get down to a point where you're asking others for other opportunities or resources, or if you ever go to HR, the first thing out of HR's mouth is, did you have a conversation already with your boss? And if you say, well, no, then they're going to send you right back. So you want to make sure you've done that. But the second one is go to other people in the organization. Go to HR. Go to maybe your boss's peers or your boss's boss and say, hey, I really, remember, it's always, you open with a spirit of positivity. hey, I love it here. Great place. Would love to find ways to continue to grow here. If you see any opportunities that look like this or this or this, please let me know. I'd be really interested. It's something that's really important to me.
Nice.
And it can tie into legit season changes. So for example, when I work with evening MBA students, then they're getting their MBA at night, or the weekend executive MBA students, their employer knows in the beginning of that process, oh, we've got them for like 2 years, because they're not going to want to change their job while they're getting this degree. And sometimes they take advantage of that. They load them up on work. But then when they get towards the end, there's like, and the expected leave, it's like, oh yeah. And then they start to get anxious. Whitney's about to get her degree. Like she's going to be out of here. So you can use that as an opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to get my MBA or whatever, and I'm ready for something bigger. Do you have anything? And would love to stay here. You can kind of hint that. But if you don't have anything, I might have to go find something else.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important one.
Okay, question.
Yes.
Part of hygiene, and this might be later on your list, so if it is, just say, stop, Whitney. Another thing that I did is I made sure processes and everything were documented so that, again, the next person coming in wouldn't necessarily have to go and ask a bunch of questions. But again, if it's click here, download here, upload here, I wrote that down.
Yeah.
That would be something I'd put under hygiene for me in my mind.
That's beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
aren't even offering to train the person or stay around. Absolutely. That's when you've made the decision to leave. Okay. This is, you're exploring our options and opportunities. We're seeing, is there a way to make this work? Now, the third category I've got is important step that most people miss. And that is, before you make that leap and you say, I'm out of here, you've really done your homework in terms of your ability to get something else in the market. So this is assuming you don't already have another job to go to. So you're looking at things like salary. Can you make more money somewhere else, or are you already getting paid more than other places? I had a colleague of mine, and she was tired. She did not like her current role, and she was in kind of higher education. And she decided, oh, I'm going to go over here to industry, and I'm going to do something similar to what I'm doing, and I'm going to make more money. Well, she found a great opportunity that fit her perfectly, but when she looked at the salary, it was like a third or half of what she was making.
Wow.
And she said, oh, wow, I'm not sure. I may just want to suck it up and find a way to work around some of the things I don't like about my job, because it pays me so much better than if I went out and did this in a different way.
Yeah.
So knowing what you're worth in the marketplace is important. Making sure that you're kind of you've got a good, compelling professional resume or career path up to this point. So like, for example, kiss of death from all the executive recruiters I speak to over the years, they say if you've been with the same company for 10 years or more, in the same role for 10 years or more, no one's going to hire you. Because they consider you like stale or flat, like you're not growing. You've been in the same job for 10 years, same company. You're not going to be able to adjust to a new environment.
Wow.
So if you got that as your background, that's a challenge. I'm thinking, let's see what else I want to add on here. Role, salary, we talked about that. Make sure your network is strong. Oh, and here's the last one. And here's just the like pure, not PC, unvarnished truth. You need to make sure you're considering your age, your health, some of those other demographics, and say, do I have something that is going to be to my disadvantage? So, for example, if you are over 40, if you're over 40 years old, okay, and you're wanting to go into something that's either like high tech, like software, or maybe super creative, it can be hard, because those are typically seen as like young people's jobs. So they're looking for 20-somethings, and they want to pay at a 20-something salary. Right. Which at a 40-year-old, you may not want that. Now, if you're over 50, it's going to be hard to almost move around at all if you don't have a job. If you're over 50, you can find jobs if you already have one. But if you're unemployed for more than 6 months, I find it's extremely difficult to find something. So I see a lot of people who are over 50 who can be unemployed for years. So you want to be really, really careful. So just know your age. Say, I don't want to be kind of out there. And if you have health issues too, that could be something. If you have chronic health issues and you miss big bursts of work, with all employers wanting everything lean and their organizations lean, they may not want to take you on. It may either impact their insurance costs or may create other burdens. So while we would like to say that people don't discriminate around that stuff, those are real issues. So you just have to be honest with yourself and say, am I coming in with things that are going to be a detriment to me?
So I have a question.
Yeah,
is there
Isaac.
a difference for-profit and non-profit companies? Do you do it the same way or do you do it differently?
Oh, it's a good question. In terms of looking for something?
Looking for something.
Yeah. That's a good point, Isaac. I will say, so if you're going to go nonprofit, you're going to always take a pay cut. So you're always going to say you take a 30 to 50% pay cut, sometimes even more than that. You probably won't get the same kind of issues around age. I find nonprofits are an interesting place. Some are just all really young, and then some are all kind of older in age. There's typically not a whole lot in the middle. So there's some interesting challenges in that. I think probably the pay cut tends to allow you to maybe take on, you probably get more opportunities because of that. So I've known people that weren't able to make the shift into another corporate job, but were able to find things in the nonprofit space. So that is something to consider. If you've got things going against you, you could go more of the nonprofit space. It might give you a little more runway.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then let's say you've done all this stuff and you've said, okay, I've talked to my boss and she's not going to help me out. Talked to other people in the organization, know the roles. I've done an inventory. I know I can get something, and I've decided to kind of make that move. And you've decided to kind of do this the right way. So now we get into the stuff you were talking about, like what's the right way to quit. So when you think about all the things you did the right way, I'm hearing you say a couple things. You gave notice, and you gave a month, which is super generous. Okay. And by the way, the employer that's hiring you will often be okay and accommodate that, because they're looking at that saying, oh, wow, you're being so generous to your prior employer. I would want you to treat us the same way. So you did that. You created training materials. Okay. What else? What else do you think are good things we'd want to consider? Can you think of anything else you did?
I did go in. I wrote a letter of resignation, but I went in, hand delivered it to my boss, talked with him, let him know why. I did communicate that it was, I focused more on the opportunity, not so much what I felt I was lacking there, but on my next opportunity. So I felt like I kept it positive.
So I like that you said you wrote a letter and it sparked something for me. You want to control the message. So I would actually encourage people that when you're getting ready to leave, you even offer to say, would it be helpful if you've got a role that warrants this, would it be helpful if I write the kind of the communication that you can edit and send out? Because for a lot of roles, people are going to say, oh, well, I want to announce to everybody that, Whitney's moving on to this new opportunity and we're so excited for her. So it would allow you to kind of craft that message. So you control that storyline versus people saying, oh, she's quitting because she doesn't, whatever, like her boss, whatever it happens to be.
Agreed.
So, doing that's, I think, important, kind of controlling that message. And I love the fact, again, that you offered to stick around and help. And then putting even in a transition plan, like trying to help with that piece. Now, one more important thing, because we're almost up on time. Be prepared for this thing to happen to you when you quit. Okay. So for, let's say, the last 2, 3, 4 years, you've been asking for a raise. Nada. Zilch. Zip. Maybe just cost of living increase. That's it. As soon as you say, I'm out of here, and you give that letter, okay, you're going to get offered more money. Okay, because what I'm seeing today consistently across organizations is they don't want to just give people money, even though they may earn it. But when you're about to create pain by leaving, and there's the cost of that down position and the burnout that's going to happen to everybody around that position, and then they got to go hire somebody and go to market. And then when you go to market, you typically pay more than what that position was paying before. So there's a tremendous amount of money that they're going to cost the employer to backfill a position. If it's kind of manager level and above. Okay, so they'll often throw money at you. So you got to be prepared for that. So you have to ask yourself, am I doing this as a negotiation tactic, or am I serious? So there's no right or wrong answer to it, other than you don't want to be playing a lot of games. But you may just say, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. okay, maybe I could make this work, because maybe the reason why you're leaving really is about money. You just can't make it. You've got 3 kids and you just kind of can't make it work. And they throw $20,000 more at you. And you say, okay, now I can make it work. So just be prepared for that. I think that's important. Okay, we did it. We landed the plane. How to quit well. Hopefully, it's going to save some people from a lot of poor exits. Make things a little bit easier.
Good tips, Brandon.
Everyone a little bit happier.
Yep. Agreed.
You're not going to go quit someplace today, are you, Whitney?
No,
Okay.
not quitting.
Good. Excellent. Okay, well, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And of course, follow us every week. You can look at us on the website at theworkplacetherapist.com. And of course, download the Brandon Smith Show on iTunes if you're not already listening to it. If you're not already listening to it, why aren't you? And follow us on Twitter at the WP Therapist for Workplace Therapist, at the WP Therapist. And until our next show, have a great week and an awesome life.